Coming up next on Headline Humboldt, Linda Stansberry and I team up once again to take a long look at our community to determine what's wrong and how we can fix it. This week we focus on the cost of housing and why the market is becoming more and more out of reach for ordinary people. Also, KEET contributor Ryan Hutson brings us a related story on how a number of homeless people in Eureka were recently shuffled off the land where they'd been living on the northern end of town. Coming up now on Headline Humboldt. From the top of Humboldt Hill, this is Headline Humboldt. I'm James Falk. Thanks for joining us. We start off tonight's show, our second installment in the What's Wrong with Humboldt series, with an interview. Housing advocate Lulu Mickelson is a private citizen, but after years working on housing issues in two of the largest American cities, New York and Los Angeles, she's now using that expertise to help improve a community she's come to love. That community is, of course, Humboldt County. She knows how the housing market works and what can be done by regular people and their governments to try and stem the unfortunate tide of rising costs and dwindling supply.
My name is Lulu Mickelson, and I arrived in Humboldt 2 years ago to support my partner's family who's lived here for a really long time with childcare during the pandemic. And we fell in love with the area and are now here for good, which is such a blessing, and we feel really lucky to be part of such a beautiful community. Prior to coming to Humboldt, I worked on housing policy, most recently for the Mayor's Office of Los Angeles, and before that for the New York City Department of Housing Preservation and Development. Wow. And I really came to housing because I was working on social justice issues and really understanding how do we address poverty and increase access to opportunity in our communities, and it always came back to housing. When you don't have stable housing, everything else in your life is harder. It's hard to be a good parent. It's hard to hold down a job. It's hard to take care of your health. And so my work kind of kept leading me to housing. And so these roles that I've had in different local city agencies have really allowed me the opportunity to understand this issue from different angles. And now that I'm in Humboldt, I'm providing some consulting support to different local nonprofit and mission-driven organizations who want to help address our housing crisis locally, because like the rest of the country, Humboldt is facing an affordable housing crisis. And so we know that in order to have a thriving, healthy community and to have neighbors who can stay here and build a life, we need to figure out how to start, addressing this crisis. And so it's been a real pleasure and a learning opportunity for me to just figure out how I can bring some of my expertise locally and learn about what's going on and how this issue is playing out in Humboldt County.
It seems to me that those markets that you mentioned, they're places that are further along in the problem, right? I mean, like the real estate pressures in New York City are obviously world famous. It's, I think, the most expensive real estate market in the world. And San Francisco is in a similar way, and I imagine Los Angeles suffers from the same kinds of pressures. Coming from those markets, are you able to kind of look at Humboldt County and say, aha, if we don't, address some of these things now, they can balloon into bigger and bigger problems, even though they're problematic now?
Yeah, I'm really glad you brought that up, because it is a little bit like having a crystal ball of being like, I know what happens when local governments and jurisdictions and communities don't proactively take action around housing, because I've seen what that looks like in markets where it's gotten to the point where it feels like the problem is impossible. And so there is something really exciting about moving here and being in a jurisdiction that's sort of what I see on the edge of the crisis kind of spiraling out of control. It feels like there's still things that we can be doing and putting in place now to protect local residents and to really start to plan for thoughtful growth as we see, climate refugees and big infrastructure projects and the expansion of our universities. We know people are coming here. We don't even have enough housing for the folks who are already here, and I'm happy to share a little bit more about what that looks like. But I do think that we are in a unique position, unlike other cities where it's like they're scrambling to just hold on. We can actually take steps now to say, what do we want this growth to look like? How do we plan as a community? And how do we start to really take action before this gets to a point where, our friends and neighbors can't live here anymore?
So for someone who's from Humboldt County and doesn't get a lot of exposure outside, can you talk a little bit about what the problems are here? I mean,
yeah.
As someone who's tried to rent prices have gone way up. I know that real estate prices are going way up.
Yeah.
There's not enough rentals, period. But can you talk a little bit about the pressures and, I mean, what people call the inequities of the market might be that make it hard for people to thrive?
Absolutely, James. I'm really glad you brought that up, and your astute observation that there's just not enough housing, and that's a huge part of why we're actually in a national housing shortage right now. People estimate that we need 3 million units across America to start to just catch up with the housing need, and California is particularly acute, right? Because we have decades of lots of people wanting to move here because we know why. It's beautiful. I'm from California originally. It is an amazing place to live and to build a life. But we've also seen, coupled with that population growth, really restrictive building practices and not a lot of housing development to meet that growth. And so right now, after decades of this, right? So at first it was just, a little bit of a mismatch, but now we're about 5-6 decades into this mismatch. And so we just simply do not have enough units to house people. And when you don't have enough units, that means that those units are just going to get more and more competitive and expensive. So that's both rentals and housing. And so we're seeing that with the prices, right? Because there's so many people who want so few units, we can just see the prices going up and up. And I think, one thing to understand in this equation is that that mismatch is happening in housing, but our wages aren't keeping up. So while the price of housing is going up and up because there's just not enough of it and there's that scarcity, and so people can charge more and the market's sort of creating those forces, minimum wage has barely risen in those decades. And so what we're seeing now, and the reason why we're seeing just a huge increase in people facing housing insecurity and homelessness, people living in their cars, is because people are working full-time jobs. Sometimes even two parents are working full-time job, and they just can't make enough to afford the housing in their area. So what that looks like is potentially losing their home and having to scramble, and that has huge consequences on people's lives. It also could mean moving further away from your job where it's more affordable, but then you're spending 2-3 hours in your car every day. That has huge environmental and health ramifications for folks. And so we're really in this moment, I think, as a country, and specifically California, and we're seeing it in Humboldt too, where the numbers aren't adding up, right? And it's no one's individual's fault, right? It's this big systemic issue. And so one of the big, steps to getting towards a solution is building more housing, right? And doing it quickly and being strategic about it. But there's actually, when we think about a solution, there's 3 Ps. And then I'll let you jump back in, but there's 3 Ps when it comes to dismantling sort of the housing crisis, and they have to be done all together. There's production, so creating new housing. There's preservation, which means preserving the housing that we already have, making sure it's high quality and it's not getting run down, making sure that it remains affordable for folks, thinking about what we have already and how to use that and maximize it. And then the last P is protections. And so it's really important, what we've learned from cities like New York and LA, that as you're building all this new housing, you're also protecting existing tenants, and you're making sure that there are real safeguards in place for folks who have lived in an area for a really long time to be able to stay even as the market changes, and that these new houses that are being produced are really affordable people in the area, and they're not just designed for newcomers. And so there's a lot of tools to use in order to do that, but those 3 Ps together start to make sure that you're not just addressing the shortage of housing, but you're doing it in a way that's equitable and that can include long-time residents and kind of all folks in that vision.
Humboldt County is much like the rest of the state, but it's also, it seems to me, maybe a little bit further behind in terms of the pressures that have caught up in the Bay Area and further south. Is it early enough that we could stop that explosion of cost that all those places have seen? I mean, I don't know what the ridiculous price is, but the Bay Area is known for being, thousands and thousands of dollars for a very small, almost Hong Kong-like, space. Have we caught it early enough? And what do we need to do as a local municipality to begin to, is building just enough? Does that go to the building department to allow more projects to go forward? I have a lot of questions and they all kind of got jumbled there.
Yeah, well, I think the secret is that there's no silver bullet. These market pressures are so big, and there's so many decades of bad policy and inaction that have landed us here. Much like the environmental crisis we're in, it's not going to be one policy that starts to unwind climate change, and it's not going to be one policy that starts to unwind our housing crisis. And also these issues are very intertwined, right? How we build housing is going to have a huge impact on the environment. And so I think thinking about them together it can be helpful. But I think to answer your question, because of the system that we're operating in, it is hard to stop prices from going up. And I think Humboldt has this amazing opportunity where we're on the edge of a lot of growth with, big infrastructure projects coming to our area, expansion of university, the redwood curtain lifting a little bit and people seeing this as a home, people who are, displaced by fires and pressures inland who are just sometimes don't even have a choice and see the coast as their only option. There's lots of reasons why we're seeing people move here. And I think, the opportunity is how do we accommodate them in a way that aligns with our values, and how do we promote housing and make sure that we're putting policies in place that manage this change in a way that still makes it feel like Humboldt, right? And so I think when you ask about what does building look like, how do we move forward, to me the real opportunity here is to think about the places town centers are spaces that are already developed. These are spaces that are often walkable, Old Town, Arcata, parts of Fortuna and McKinleyville even, and thinking about how do we bring more housing into those areas as opposed to having that housing sprawl into our beautiful wild and agricultural lands. And so there's a lot of policy happening right now and zoning changes to think about how do we allow for 2, 3, 4, even higher story buildings that can create affordable units in town where people can walk to the grocery store, where they could potentially walk to work, and really use the areas that we already have developed to create what we call urban infill, right? Which is housing in places that are already developed, as opposed to, I think the fear is that if we're not planning ahead and really preparing for this growth, what we'll see is just kind of sprawling, kind of suburban-like growth that really takes away from the natural beauty. I think, and living in LA, seeing San Francisco and New York, what you see is you just have this urban sprawl and this endless development. And I think in Humboldt, we really want to think about how do we control this development? We have to build housing, even, just to accommodate, again, folks who are already here, but also the state is mandating we build housing because they see this crisis. And if we don't build it, they're going to push us to build it anyway. So the growth is coming, and it's how do we manage it in a way that, aligns with our values, that allows people that opportunity to walk, that creates units that are truly affordable, that creates pathways to home ownership. So I think this is the conversation that's happening right now. And so I think, that's a big part of it. And then pairing that with protections for renters, pairing that with policies that sort of discourage speculation and external investors who are not from the area to come and flip homes, and that just drives up the price more and more, putting protections in place so that as we're building, we're also keeping folks here and protected so that they can stay.
One of the things that the state has done is they've sort of come up with these requirements for each county to provide a certain amount of affordable housing units. And is that helping? I mean, I remember when I used to cover the city of Eureka, there was a lot of, back and forth, and especially the county of Humboldt, where they have a housing element in the general plan, which would lay out, yes, we're going to try and provide this many units, but it was always kind of a pie in the sky figure, and there was never the infrastructure in place in order to accommodate the kind of growth they were talking about. I mean, at a certain point, it just seems like you're pushing around bureaucratic paperwork, and none of it's really resulting in actual homes being built.
So what you're referring to is, the housing element process that the state puts forward, which does require communities to commit to building a certain number of homes. And this has been in place for a long time. And so each, county is given, or, kind of jurisdiction is given a regional housing need allocation, or RHNA is what you call it. And so that's sort of this number that you're in the next 8 years, you need to work towards building this number of housing. And you're totally right. For the last few decades, it's been this sort of empty exercise that people have gone through where it's oh, we've got this big number, gotta hustle. But then in the end, very few people actually reach their goals. And that's part of why we have this huge shortage, is that there was a push to build housing, but no enforcement. And so actually in the last few years, the state has really ramped up its enforcement and really transformed the way that they're going to be using these allocations to hold people accountable. And so there is now finally some teeth. And so if Humboldt or other jurisdictions don't start taking these numbers seriously, there will be, consequences, including the state pushing forward development that maybe doesn't align with the area, but at a certain point it's like, we got to get these numbers and you're not doing it. So we're going to push you. So the most recent RHNA number for Humboldt County was 3,390 units, and that was developed in 2019. A lot of folks feel like that's a real undercount because it was before we got the announcement of the expansion of Cal Poly Humboldt and a lot of these infrastructure projects. So folks are like, that should be the floor in terms of what we're aspiring to develop. And another, example I'll give you in terms of why that number feels really low is the California Housing Partnership does this analysis of sort of housing needs across the state. And for Humboldt County, this is in 2020, so a few years ago, but right after this needs assessment came, the RHNA allocation came out, they said that in 2020, over 6,000 low-income renters in Humboldt County could not get access to affordable housing. So that meant they were either paying way too much or they were struggling to find housing. And that was in 2020. And that's just, a snapshot. So we know that even, as I said before, the folks who are already here and established in the community, as you said, are having a really hard time accessing housing. And, I'm doing some work with Open Door Community Health Centers, and they've surveyed their staff because these are, we're not just talking about, everyday people. We're talking about the people who serve us at restaurants, who teach our schools, who provide healthcare for us. And Open Door found that, when this big staff survey that was filled out by more than 2/3 of their staff, which is an unheard of amount of survey responses, but it's because this issue is so hot. They said that 65% of their staff struggled to find affordable housing in the last 5 years. And 45% said that being able to find affordable housing could affect whether they are able to stay in the area. And Open Door has cited housing as like the key reason why they're having a hard time attracting and retaining staff in the community. And, on top of that, even if staff do have housing, or, even if we know people have housing, they're paying way too much for it. So 41% of Open Door staff who took the survey are paying 30% or more on their income on housing, which by the federal definition is more than you should be paying. That means you're cost burdened. And 25% of staff who took the survey are paying over 50% of their income on housing. How can you build a life if you're putting half your paycheck towards either your mortgage or your rent? You can't survive, and you're taking out debt, and you're stressed, and it has health and, financial and, spiritual implications to be that stressed out all the time. And we know in all of the numbers that homelessness, people who are becoming homeless are working class people. These are working families that are falling into homelessness just because they can't keep up because of that mismatch. So I think it's really important to acknowledge that this is not just new people coming in to our community and we're like, oh, can we accommodate them? This is just also just helping folks who are already here stay. And I think we really need to plan for that as well, because if we don't, we're going to start to see what we've seen in other cities, which is a lot of displacement, people having to leave to find more affordable options elsewhere. And I know we don't want that here. 30 years ago, you probably could buy a house, and that's awesome. But, we know that there's still huge barriers for people of color, for working class people, for people who have, had challenges with credit score and other, economic hardships. And that's just not fair that just because of these different factors, you don't have access to stable housing, and I think there's really, to me, addressing the housing issue is really also about addressing inequality, and it's a racial justice issue, and it's a class justice issue. And I think if we think about, building housing as an opportunity to not only make sure that everyone has a place to thrive in our community, but really has a way to build wealth and build, intergenerational stability for themselves. Like, what a gift to give to everyone in our community to make sure that there's a pathway to home ownership. And it really is a mandate, I think, of this moment in terms of addressing climate and racial justice and all of these interlocking issues. So I just feel like it's important to say that and acknowledge that history.
I'm joined now by my partner in this endeavor, Linda Stansberry. She's reported on all the issues that face our community over the years, and so it's a privilege and a pleasure to have her on the show. Real quick, you'll notice the different surroundings today. We usually have a different set, but this is set up for the candidate forums. So this show is in celebration of democracy, just like every show of Headline Humboldt. So Linda, you managed to watch the interview and do some research. What struck you the most about what Lulu had to say in terms of housing in Humboldt County?
Well, I think it's notable that housing prices, specifically rental prices, are so high right now that they're effectively putting home ownership out of reach for most people in our generation. You know,
Absolutely.
And so, what kind of ripple effects is that going to have for generations down the line in terms of institutional poverty?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the things that we often bemoan is the incredibly vanishing middle class, and one of the primary and major sources of wealth for anyone who is in that income bracket is their house if they own it. And if you don't own it, you can never really get into the middle class. You're always kind of just floundering just prior, where you don't have any equity at all to move ahead. We have some stats I'd like to show folks, if we could. We've got some graphics made. According to the Humboldt County 2020 Affordable Housing Needs Report, 6,154 low-income renter households do not have access to an affordable home in Humboldt County. That's a shocking number. Low-income housing tax credits in the county have increased slightly since 2016, while state credits, however, have decreased by 13%. Now, this is an interesting one, and I think Linda has some thoughts on this, but according to that same report, 81% of low-income households are paying more than half their income on housing costs, and renters in Humboldt County need to earn $18.77 per hour to afford the average monthly asking rent for one person of $976. Let's come back to Linda real quick. We have one more, but let's come back to Linda. So you did some back of the envelope math on some of that, right?
Right. Well,
looking at a prospective budget for a random Joe or Jane.
Okay, so I'm relying on you to help me with the math.
Okay, I got it
this.
here. Yeah,
So
I got a pen.
basically, if you make $15 an hour, which is minimum wage,
Yeah.
that pencils out to about $2,000, and that's
Per
gross,
month.
not net.
Yeah.
You know, that's pre-taxes.
Yeah.
So assuming that you pay $1,000 in rent as a single person,
Yep.
that leaves $1,000 for expenses. So after you pay $200 in gas to commute to work with gas prices, you got
Wow.
what? $800.
Yep.
Drop another $100 on water, $700.
Yep.
Drop, say, $70 on Wi-Fi, $630. Drop $80 on garbage service, which is mandatory in some regions. You have what?
$550.
$550. So if you stick to a budget and you manage to spend, say, $100 on food every week, right?
Yeah.
Where are we at now?
They're $350.
$350? Okay. So PG&E costs are rising. In the winter, you're going to spend at least $150 on gas and electricity for heating.
Yep. No, yeah, it's basically that leaves us with 200. Obviously, I mean, that is a non-realistic expectation for people to be able to make that kind of budget. And what happens if you have a sudden expenditure?
Exactly. Most Americans are only $800 away from being out on the streets.
Yeah, exactly right. And suddenly, you are living in a green space on the northern end of town, which is a story that we have that's related, that Ryan Hutson, a contributor for KEET TV, actually reported for us this week. In a stroke of serendipity, Ryan approached us this week with a footage from a dramatic event that happened last weekend when a homeless camp was dismantled by the city of Eureka. These two subjects are intimately related. So many of us are one surprise expenditure away from losing our homes and trying to fend for ourselves on the streets of Humboldt County.
Eureka Police Department's Community Safety Enhancement Team converged on a greenbelt bordering northbound Highway 101 as it exits Eureka and went to work clearing the property of several truckloads of waste, ousting upwards of 50 homeless people from the forested wetland back onto city streets. Community members on scene advocated for both trash removal and for sustainable remedies to an ongoing challenge: how to help the homeless while protecting the environment.
I'm the director of the North Coast Environmental Center, and we do litter cleanups. And we heard about this from some of our allies who were really upset, and naturally we are as well. Not only because this is framed as like, a litter cleanup, like we're going to come out and do this environmental thing, which we feel like really reflects. It makes all of us who do this work kind of look like we support this, which we don't.
I see. And when you say this, you're talking about there's two different things happening here.
Yes, the sweep and the two different things are happening in conjunction. It's not. There are solutions to a lot of what's happening here.
Yeah.
There's just not the political will to implement it.
So the city has been out noticing people and offering services and, really trying to connect with people. And I've said it before, but unfortunately we can't manufacture willingness. And so some folks, they're just not ready for support right now. That doesn't mean they won't ever. It just means that they're not right now.
Right.
It's not ever a happy thing to do.
Right.
But unfortunately, or fortunately, it needs to be done. We can't have our environment in this state.
So it's one of those somebody's got to do it jobs.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I hear you.
Yeah.
And then I've been speaking with some people who are displaced and some of the protesters up there. As far as their comments as to, where were the trash bins, where were the potties before, what are your thoughts on that? What were the barriers to getting that for people here?
So,
or what's the deal?
So this is a private property, so it would be up to the private property owner to put bathrooms or to put dumpsters or that kind of thing out there for people.
And that being the Humboldt County Office of Education.
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay.
And so I just, I don't know if advocates have reached out to them at all about what that would look like.
Right.
But clearly, if you walked back in there, you would see that it was just.
Activists underscored the lack of immediate support being offered. Volunteers carried on with the cleanup while unhoused members of the community attempted to regroup. Crystal Stewart explained as she exited her camp.
I mean, what are we supposed to do? Not everybody has the money or the mindset or whatever it takes to hold down a 9-to-5 job. Some of us can't do that. Some of us have never done that. We didn't have no dumpster to put stuff. We had nowhere to take our stuff. We had nowhere to put none of the stuff. We're not just scums of the earth. We're homeless people too. We eat like you. We sleep like you. We drink like you. We are you. We need help.
A tour of the space revealed squalid living conditions steeped in waste, including drug paraphernalia litter.
And so, as difficult as the decision is to have to move people when they don't have somewhere to go, it's difficult because it's kind of the, which bad decision do you make? And, in this case, the right decision is to try and reduce as much trauma and as much impact on the environment and the community as we can.
If someone wanted to go to waterfront recovery right now, we would have set an appointment up with them. Would have called over to our contact over there. If we need to talk to Dr. Bynum, we can talk to her directly. And we have those connections. If they wanted to go into a program, didn't need detox, we could talk to HRC Crossroads, called Drug Medi-Cal, which gives us 7 counties to send people to. If they wanted to get some kind of housing, we have our Uplift outreach workers that can set up with housing. If they want Social Security, we do that also. If they want to go to Betty's, I called Betty today for someone. If they want to go to the Mission, we have that available. If they want to have a program with Salvation Army, we have that.
Right.
And there's a lot of options that we have, and we have networks. So if we don't know something, well, maybe Betty does, maybe Josh and Loretta up at Salvation Army do, maybe our folks down at Freemill do.
Yeah.
And so we have this, or with Providence, also the hospital, we have this network. And so, but if someone just doesn't want that at all, then it's kind of hard we can't force it on them. And so now we're stuck, instead of doing outreach with them, we're stuck with accountability because this is chaos. This is absolutely unacceptable. And for many reasons we've discussed, but it's challenging.
Okay, thank you for that.
We show up every day and do it. So we find you.
For Headline Humboldt, this is Ryan Hutson.